This is a third take. I'm trying to read again for the third time now. Please confirm if you can see me and everything is fine and there is good signal. How are you? Happy Friday! So today I'm reading from Kopano Matlwa's Period Pain. Oh, it's good. Okay, great. I think this lighting is good. I think. Yeah. Okay, great. I'm going to read the back of the book and then I will start with the reading. Welcome. Have you guys read Period Pain? Or have you heard anything by Kopano Matlwa? Okay, let me go and then you will comment in the while I continue. It's a South Africa painful and familiar, choked by fear and political turmoil, rape and xenophobia, where redemption seems beyond our horizons. It is within this world that we encounter Masechaba. All I feel is guilt for not caring, fear of being caught out. They bore me, Lord. Your people bore me. I know it's wrong to say it, but they do. They pain, they problems, they hopelessness. It all bores me. It's a constant reminder that the problems are vast, multiple, deep-rooted, and that there is nothing I can do to fix any of it. It's all hopeless. They die no matter what you do. I picked up her stuff and prepared to go back to the emergency department. Nyasha shrugged. It's just a period South Africa is in, she responded matter-of-factly. Growing pains. Like period pain, I said, trying to make a joke. She gave me a weak smile. Yeah, like period pain. So that is the back of or can I read her work? There is her bio at the back as well. Kopano Matlwa took the South African literary world by storm when in 2007, at only 21, she was the winner of the European Literary Award for her debut novel Coconut, and then later was joint winner of the Wole Soyinka Prize for Literature in Africa in 2010. Coconut sold close to 25,000 copies in South Africa and catapulted Kopano onto the international stage with translations into French, Italian, and Swedish. She's actually since added more translations. Spilt Milk followed in 2010, an allegory of love lost between black and white South Africa, dealing with relationships and histories, things unsaid and things undone. It too was published to great acclaim, was longlisted for the Sunday Times Fiction Prize and translated into Dutch. I think this is also translated into Dutch, I'm not sure, but there is a different cover for this one. Nikki says Kopano must write again. Yes, right? She must. Okay, I'm gonna start reading and then so the start of the book actually has names the book is dedicated to, but women's names. I'm assuming it's women in her world, and then at the end it says for hope, for grace, for you, for me, for our daughters. So this book is dedicated to everyone. The only books worth reading are books written in blood. That's a quote from Frederick Buechner. So part 1. So every chapter opens with a Bible verse. Wait, I think, yes, it is every chapter. Or every part starts with a Bible verse. And this one starts with Mark 5, verse 25 to 34. I'm not going to read that. When I first started to bleed, I thought Ma would kill me. I was a naughty child, putting my fingers where I shouldn't, feeling parts of my body I had no business touching. So when At the Ran Easter show, I saw a thick brown sludge on my Tinkerbell panties. I didn't cry like most little girls would do. No, I knew immediately that it was my punishment from God, and hid the evidence. I hid it for days. I collected wads of toilet paper and wrapped them round and round the crotch of my Willie's full briefs. It was scratchy and uncomfortable, but nothing compared to the discomfort I knew would come with confessing to Ma that I had sinned and was bleeding as a result. That would surely be the end of me. So when I stood on the tips of my tallest toes and pulled the garage door closed on our way to church one Sunday morning, revealing beneath my Scottish Highland-style dress a dark secret that had, until then, remained hidden between my thighs, and Ma asked as I got back into the car what those spots on my glitter tights were, I knew for sure that this was the beginning of my end. Hey, hello! And in some ways it was, because as if in eager response to Ma's question, a floodgate opened within me, and the blood poured out between my thighs, down my legs and onto my jelly baby shoes, and continued to do so for weeks, easing up for a few days at a time, only to gush out again with even more intensity, charging past the clots in its way. I later learned at Sunday school that jugs of serum periodically pouring from one's vagina was no divine punishment at all, but a physiologically necessary and healthy part of a woman's life that should not only be welcomed but celebrated. Nonetheless, I prayed relentlessly that the God who had parted the Red Sea and dried it right up for the people he loved might consider blessing me with a season of dry panties. I love Kopano's writing. I don't know about, I've read a few people saying they don't get her writing. I love it. I remember telling Ma that I wanted it taken out, cut away from me, and incinerated in the large chamber at the hospital behind the hill. She said I was mad. It is mad, I had screamed. It's not mad, Masechaba. It is just unwell. Well, I'm unwell because of it, Ma. Ma said I was speaking nonsense, that these were the things women were to endure, and that if it was removed from me, I would one day regret being unable to bring life into the world. Life? What did I care for bringing life into the world when I couldn't have a life of my own? When I lived hostage to a beast in my pelvis that could split its head at any moment of its choosing and angrily spill its contents onto the floor at any second of its liking without provocation? What life did I have? Did Ma not care about that? No, she did not. I became a loner. Not because I wanted to be alone, but because it was easier for everyone that way. Tiamo was my only friend. The stains didn't seem to bother him as much as they bothered others. Like when Papa bought him a car and he offered to take me for a spin. I was so excited to see Tiamo excited, I forgot to run into the house and change my tampon and add a second layer to my pad. It was only when we got onto the highway, us foolish at 4:30 p.m. to enter the highway, that I saw the traffic and thought, crap. I tried not to think about it, even when I felt the stickiness between my thighs and knew that the tampon was engorged and the pad saturated, and the only way out was through my jeans and onto Tiamo's new car seat. I tried hard to focus on the Tracy Chapman Tiamo was singing along to. When we eventually got home, he pretended not to notice, but I knew he had, because I saw him through my bedroom window later with a bucket of soapy water and a sponge in his hand. At school, I always sat at the back of the class, making sure there was never anybody behind me, so that if I messed on my school dress, at least I wouldn't be the last to know. I was clever and inquisitive at school, and I had no interest in hanging out with the troublemakers who marked out the last row of desks as their own. But I knew that if I was to maintain a seat for myself far from the suspicious eyes of the cruelest girls, I had to be as badass as the best of them. You learn some tricks as you go. Dark clothing, ski pants under your school tunic, a cheap, thick, no-name brand pad under the always infinity to absorb the inevitable overflow. Never without a tampon in your bra, so that if you have to dash to the bathroom in a crowd, you don't have to bend over and scratch in your school bag first. Ballet, forget it. Synchronized swimming, are you crazy? Gymnastics, not even if I was paid. Netball, risky. Running, sometimes. No parties, no sleepovers. Ma wanted none of the humiliation that would come with a phone call from another parent to advise that her daughter had bled all the way through the sheets and into the mattress. She pretended it didn't bother her, but I knew she was just as embarrassed and perplexed by the aggression of her daughter's young womb as everybody else was. She would say things like, "It's because you eat too much cheese. That's why you bleed the way you do." Or, "Those tampons you use, they are unnatural. They keep the dirt from coming out freely." It made me angry when she said things like that, because she knew just as well as I did that those old wives' tales were nonsense. No amount of cheese could explain my dysfunctional uterine bleeding and the accompanying dizziness, fainting spells, and galloping heartbeat that didn't have much to gallop about. She knew that if it was as simple as letting the so-called dirt flow out freely, I'd be walking around with no pad or paper, not even a tanga or high cuts, just bare for all the world to see, if that was what it would take to stop the madness that came from within. I was always lightheaded, always fainting, my heart always racing in my chest at high speed. In and out of hospital I went, transfusion after transfusion, pill after pill, patch after patch, injection after injection. Eventually, the bleeding eased up. In fact, almost stopped altogether, bar a little bit of spotting on the occasional month. I can't remember how or the specific day. It may have been the endometrial ablation that finally did it. I was too young to understand, but I remember Ma telling Auntie Petunia that the doctors had said that short of a hysterectomy, the only thing that might work was to burn the lining of the womb. "Let them burn it, Ma," I remember crying. She had shouted at me to be quiet, but I think after I fainted into Rakgadi Tebogo's pool at Dineo's traditional wedding, Ma stopped caring about the life I'd never be able to bring into the world and started worrying more about the life she'd brought into it. But I didn't trust and continued to carry around pads, tampons, toilet paper, wipes, and black panties wherever I went. When clutch purses were in vogue, I watched enviously as pretty girls walked around the mall with a couple of notes and a lip gloss in the glittering pouches in their hands. But I knew better than to let my guard down. The beast was only sleeping and could wake at any moment. Kanti, I didn't think that's the direction the book would take. No, you know what? She explains her young years, and then she talks about her being a doctor, and then only do you understand the period pain. It's not even about period pains, but she's starting it with period pains. So it's one of the aha moments was actually in the first page I read, or the second page, where her mom is talking about her not taking out her womb. So like it's crazy. Like you need to, I don't know. Yeah, people don't get it, but yeah, that's the take that she's taking. It's like she said at the back, growing pains like period pain, you know. But yeah, she is. It's really sad how a lot of women go through this, and when you ask to actually take out your womb, they're like, no, you're still young, you can't do it, or whatever, you know, or you have to go through all these operations after operations and stuff. Yeah. So on a job shadow day, when I saw through the narrow space between the oversized theater cap, mask, and goggles they insisted I wear, a neurosurgeon climbed onto the operating table and let his colleague release the pinched nerve from his back that had been troubling him all morning, I knew immediately that it was a message from God, and that it was in this very manner that I would get the abhorrent organ cut out of me and destroyed once and for all. When Ma asked me later that evening how the day had gone, I told her it had been nothing short of marvelous, and that I was 120% sure that a medical doctor was what I wanted to be. She smiled when she heard me say that. It was a good profession, she said, and she had no doubt I'd make a great physician who would one day help a lot of people. I hadn't thought about the people until she mentioned them. At that moment, I decided it was unwise to tell her that I only wanted to become a doctor so I could make a friend at medical school who'd be willing to do the hysterectomy that all the doctors we'd seen so far had refused to perform. But that was all a very long time ago, and by the time the title was mine, these childish musings were all but forgotten. And then she quotes, "Oh, my soul, why are you so downcast within me?" That's from Psalm 43, verse 5. And that is the first part of the book. I'm going to continue reading until maybe until the first part is finished, and then I'll be done. People say that in heaven we'll be happy all the time. We won't cry. We won't feel any pain. We won't be afraid. We'll never worry. Things will be perfect. I once mentioned at Bible study group that I found this difficult to imagine. I found the whole idea of it exhausting, like a party that never ends. I'd begun to worry that I wouldn't cope in heaven, that I wouldn't fit in with all the giddy people. But Father Joshua's wife said I should imagine the last time I felt extremely happy and filled with joy. Heaven would be like that moment, just frozen forever. I tried to think back to graduation, a happy day for me. Bits of the Declaration of Geneva of the World Medical Association came back to me. I solemnly pledge myself to consecrate my life to the service of humanity. The health of my patient will be my first consideration. I'd been practicing those words daily in the weeks leading up to the ceremony, and as we stood there in our gowns, saying them in chorus, they felt like notes of high music emanating from my lips. I remembered waiting for them to call out my name so I could go up on stage to receive my certificate. There were many of us in the hall, and I was sitting next to people in my class I didn't know very well. The ones I sat next to only during registration, exams, and any other event that required alphabetical ordering. The speeches were long and I couldn't see Ma, so my mind slipped to the fantasies I'd been having for weeks, fantasies about all the things I would do as soon as I graduated. I pictured myself applying for a clothing account, and the lady behind the counter saying, "Title, please," as she typed my details into the system. "Doctor," I'd say. Then I'd open a movie card, and again they'd ask, "Miss or Mrs.?" And I'd say, "Neither. It's Doctor." Hey! Flexing. then again at the bank, and when booking a flight, and when visiting the dentist, again and again and again. I'd say it slowly, say it loudly, drag it out, repeat it if I thought they might not have heard the first time. I remember laughing to myself in LAB and LIJ. I couldn't get used to the idea. Oh, okay. So she's counting the people that she's sitting between. I couldn't get used to the idea. In just a few minutes, I would be a doctor. A rumor had started that car companies would be waiting at the back of the hall after our graduation ceremony, and brokers waiting to give us mortgages without deposits, as our titles were surety enough. Someone else said there would be financial advisors too, handing out platinum credit cards with our names already printed on them. I knew all this was nonsense, but I kept turning my head just in case. Father Joshua wasted no time. Within weeks of receiving my medical practitioner's license from the Health Professionals Council of South Africa, he asked me to speak to the youth about careers. He said young people needed to be encouraged. Our people didn't value education anymore, he lamented, and maybe if they saw someone like me doing well, they might be inspired. I told him I'd love to, but I was lying, of course. I hated public speaking, and I really didn't have much to say. As far as I was concerned, if you're clever, you become a doctor. Government tenders finish, and sometimes they don't pay, and sometimes you get arrested. But if you study, it stays with you for life. That is very important. Tiamo painted pain, but it made him think too many deep thoughts. So he hung himself on a tree. Sure, guys. Papa got government tenders, but they reshuffled the cabinet and brought in people he didn't know. There were irregularities that required a sacrificial lamb, so he was in the papers and is now with Gogo in her back room, drinking the days that remain away. As for me, Ma found an admin job in government. She worked at the Department of Health so she could get me a bursary, which made it easy. There were anyhow not a million things I could choose from. Sariti University was close to home, and Botshelo Hospital always needed intern doctors. But I couldn't say no to Father Joshua. I couldn't come across as too self-important to spend some time with the youth. So I wrote the stories I knew they wanted to hear and emailed them to Tiamo for his comments. Of course, I didn't expect a response. I'm not crazy, nor was I ever in denial, but people mourn differently, and I was entitled to mourn whichever way I saw fit. The people at Gmail didn't seem to mind. They kept on delivering my emails to Tiamo, just like they'd always done. Not like Ma, or Malume Softly, or Gogo, and everyone else, who would have minded a lot and were nothing like they'd always been. Of course, I knew Tiamo was dead. There was no shortage of reminders. But what is knowing anyway? I've known ever since I've had a thinking mind that I would one day die. But does that mean I wake up every morning preoccupied with it? Of course not. That would be absurd. I knew Tiamo's dead. Thank you very much. Thank you for being so concerned that I'm unaware of the worst thing that's ever happened in my life. Thank you. You're all so terribly kind. But can I choose to forget for just a moment? Would that be okay with you? Just like I chose to forget that the world is evil and our government corrupt and the West forever plotting our demise. Can I please continue giving 20 Rand notes to the man sitting outside Checkers and continue praying for the homeless and the downtrodden? And if it's no inconvenience to you, can I please continue sending emails to my dead brother who was my only friend, the only person who cared to see me, who cared to give me of his time and interest and humor? Can I pretend he will be back from his art workshop at 6 p.m. with a smile and an empty lunch bag in his hand? Is that okay with you, world? Might I be left alone in peace to send smiley faces and photographs to my dead brother, who I miss more than anything in the entire universe, whose death left a hole in me so big I thought I might slip and fall through it? No, it is not okay with the world. There is nothing that bothers the world more. So I stopped. Because long after Malume softly stepped into Tiamo's grave and poured soil over his head, long after Auntie Petunia grabbed my arm and forced me to go and look at his face in the casket against my will, like I was a child, like she was a somebody in our lives, long after people stopped coming to visit us, drinking all the tea and finishing the last bucket of scones, long after our neighbors forgot that we were mourning and that they needed to be nice to us, Malume Softly's girlfriend, who I thought was my friend, spotted my sent mailbox as I was scrolling through my phone and went to tell Ma that I was communicating with my dead brother, and she was worried I was practicing witchcraft. I had no choice then but to stop sending emails to Tiamo and to instead write everything in the stupid journal that is read by no one but God when he can find the time. Sure. I enjoyed this book. I don't know about you guys, but I loved how she the themes of like our government being corrupt, the tenders, the eventually as the book progresses, it gets to the point of period pain. But I felt like it had already been going through it, how she also just painted that picture that you like the struggle of like a graduate trying to get a job or trying to get funds, like even rape, and there's just so much. I really enjoyed this book. I don't know, Simula, if you have read it, but there were a few mixed reviews when it comes to this, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think I must actually revisit this book because I read it in 2017. So yeah, I used to finish books in 5 days because I read this 15th January and I finished it 20th January 2017. But yeah, I really I like. Simule says I liked Coconut better. Simule, maybe I need to reread both of them. I haven't read Spilt Milk yet. I do have Spilt Milk and Coconut, but I read Coconut like years ago, so I need to go back to Coconut. But I thought after reading this one, I had just forgotten, I've forgotten how I loved Coconut when I read this one. So I really enjoyed it more. I felt like she had over the years she had grown with her writing. But yeah, her writing style is very different. But yeah, anyway. I also haven't read Spilt Milk. Yeah, I bought the book. I bought it on second hand, like I usually do. Like, if a book is too hyped up, I'm not gonna buy it. Like, 100 Rand below. That's the rule. So I haven't read it, but I do have it. So I have Spilt Milk, Coconut, and Period Pain. But yeah, that's today's reading, guys. Thank you. If you just came in, this is what I was reading, and I hope those who are still here enjoyed the reading. And yeah, I'll see you guys on Monday. Have a lovely, lovely, lovely weekend. And keep warm. Yo, rabata. Bye, guys. Let me see if there are any comments. Thank you so much. I have to go. Princess Leah. Thank you, Leah. Oh, wow. She's a good writer. I could learn from her. I actually picked the book up at Exclusive last week, but then I put it down. Okay. I didn't think that's the direction the book would take. Okay, that was... and Nikki said Kopano was right again. Okay, cool. So those are the only ones. And maybe I should reread Parrot Pain. Maybe I'll connect with it second time around. Yeah. The xenophobia, like the themes in here are they make you think. We're struggling with connectivity. You missed out. Oh, excuse me, my friend. I also was struggling, and then I restarted the Wi-Fi, and then I kept on getting out of the live, and then I restarted a new one. But yeah, connection is very bad nowadays. I don't know why. I think Kimaru. It's the weather. But yeah, you'll watch it on IGTV. I'm gonna load it up now, and then yeah, you can watch it on and watch all the other videos from the previous week. I've added on the live. But yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you. Bye.